Okay, yesterday we were reviewing equivalent fractions, simplifying, turning mixed numbers into improper and improper fractions back into mixed numbers. Today we're going to actually start the application of all of those. So we are looking at adding fractions. Okay, now when we're adding fractions, the first thing that we have to realize is that this equation that I have sitting right here, 2/3 plus 5/6, you cannot add it as it stands right now. Okay, I can't add them right now because this one is in thirds and this one is in sixths. Those are different sizes, okay? That would be like adding 2 inches plus 4 feet and saying it's 6, but they're not the same size, so I can't put them together, all right? It doesn't make sense to do that. So your first step always needs to be make sure that they have a common denominator between the two of them. Now, luckily in 5th grade, the standards changed just a little while ago so that one of these should always be a multiple of the other one. So in 5th grade, I only have to change one of the fractions, and it should naturally change into one of the other ones, all right? So that's our goal for this. Now, taking a look, I already know from what we did yesterday with equivalent fractions that when I look at thirds and sixths, I can turn thirds into sixths. So that'll be my first step, is that I want to take my 2/3 and I want to turn it into sixths. So I already know what I want the denominator to be. So all I need to think about is what am I going to multiply by. Now, if you look, I'm going to start by putting my fraction symbol there because I remember from yesterday to make it an equivalent fraction, I have to do the same to the top and the bottom. So 3 times what is 6? Well, 3 times 2 is 6. If I multiply the bottom by 2, I need to do the top by 2 as well so that it stays equivalent. So now I'm doing 2/3 times 2/2, which is 1 whole. I'm multiplying it by 1. So it may look different, but it is in fact equivalent. It's the same size and same value. 2 times 2 is 4. So I have 4/6. So I go back up here. Now, some of you I've noticed in the past, you scratch things off and write it on top of it. And to me, that's a horrible mess. So me personally, I would just rewrite it. This is equal to 4/6 plus 5/6. And now we're looking to see what that is equal to. Now that they both have the same denominator, now I can just add the numerators. 4/6 plus 5/6 is going to be 9/6. That could be my end answer. I could stop there. But in the real world, more likely than not, 9/6 does not have as much meaning to it as it would if I took that improper fraction and turned it into a mixed number. It would tend to make more sense to people. So looking at 9/6, I want 9/6, the improper fraction, to be turned into a mixed number. So 9 being divided by 6, how many times does 6 go into 9? Obviously, it goes in 1 time. So if I take 6 of those away to make that whole right here, I would do 9 minus 6, and I have 3/6 left. And at that point, then I can make the decision. At least this is something more reasonable to work with, but I might even want to take it a step farther and see if it can be simplified down, because I know offhand that 1 and 3/6 is the same thing as 1 and 1/2 because it's a fraction I'm used to using. You should know all the ways to get to 1/2, and 3/6 is one of them. Okay, so those are our steps for this. Now, taking a look at just one more, we don't always just have simple fractions. Oftentimes we're adding a mixed number plus another mixed number, or a mixed number plus a fraction. Ultimately, I still have the same responsibility. I can't add fourths and eighths because they're not the same size. So what I'll need to do is change one into the other. I remember from yesterday, or just looking at it, that 8 is a multiple of 4, so I know I can turn fourths into eighths. So 3/4 being multiplied by something should tell me something into eighths. All right, so let's see. 4 times 2 is equal to 8 on the bottom, so I need to do the same thing to the top. 3 times 2 is 6, so 3/4 is equivalent to 6/8. Those are the same size. Now, again, same as I told you before, I like to rewrite my equation just because it's a little neater. This time I'll do it underneath. So I've got 2 and 6/8 plus 3 and 5/8. That term did not change at all. All right, now when we're adding mixed numbers, the next step for that, you need to make a decision. It doesn't matter if you're writing it long ways or if you want it on top of each other. I know some people like to take this term and put it underneath so that it looks more like the standard addition. Having them stacked on top of each other doesn't really matter. But you do need to make sure that you don't forget to add your wholes. That's one of the big things that people tend to forget in fractions when they're working with mixed numbers. They do all this beautiful work with the fraction part, but then they forget to do anything with the mixed term and they get it wrong. So right now I've got 2 plus 3 makes 5. I like to do it first and get it out of the way. Now these are both in eighths, so I can add them as they are. 6 plus 5 makes 11 eighths, okay? Because the denominator didn't change when you added it. They are still eighths. That's their size. Now, again, if I was walking around and I just went at the grocery store and I said, hey, buddy, I need 5 and 11/8 pounds of hamburger meat, odds are someone's going to mess that up. It's better to have that simplified down into something more realistic. So, same as before, I'm going to look at 11 divided by 8. So if I did it on the side, because I noticed that's what a lot of you guys do. So 11 divided by 8, I know 8 will go into 11 one time. Okay, if I take those 8 away, so I take the 8 eighths away to make a whole, how many eighths would be left? Well, there'd be 3 of them. There'd be 3 eighths left. Now again, this is our part where I have a lot of people choose that for their answer. Okay, but you're forgetting this 1 and 3/8 is really this 11/8 here. There's still this 5. You can't just drop it. It didn't disappear. So I need to put that 5 in there as well. So the true answer for this would be 5 plus 1 and 3/8, which is 6 and 3/8. Okay, so as you're working with adding or subtracting fractions, you have to make sure, one, that you have a common denominator, and then two, ideally it works better when you do simplify it at the end.